Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, Passing Away of Bhishmadev, text number 23. Bhaktyavesha mano yasmin, vachayan nama kirtayan, tyajan kalevara yogi, muchate kama karmavi. Bhaktya Vesha Mano Yasmin Vachayan Nama Kirtayan Tyajan Kalevaram Yogi Muchate Kama Karmavi. Yavesha Mano Yasmin Vachanam Yama Kirtayan Tyajan Kalevaram Yogi Muchate Kama Karmavi. Bhaktavesha Mano Yasmin Tayan Yogi Karmavi. Ladies, Bhaktavesha Mano Yasmin Vachayan Nama Kirtayan Tyajan Kalevaram Yogi Uchate Kama Karmavi. Bhaktya, with devout attention. Bhaktavesha, meditating. Manaha, mind. Yasmin, in whose. Vacha, by words. Yat, Krishna. Nama, holy name. Kirtayan, by chanting. Tyajan, quitting. Kevalam, this material body. Yogi, the devotee. Muchate, gets released. Kama karma vi, from fruitive activities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation, and by chanting the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. Please repeat. The personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation, and by chanting of the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of quitting the material body. Purport. Yoga means concentration in the mind, detached from all of the subject matter. And actually, such concentration is samadhi, or 100% engagement in the service of the Lord. And one who concentrates his attention in that manner is called a yogi. Such a yogi devotee of the Lord engages himself 24 hours daily in the service of the Lord, so that his whole attention is engrossed with the thoughts of the Lord in ninefold devotional service. Namely, hearing, chanting, remembering, worshiping, praying, becoming a voluntary servant, carrying out orders, establishing a friendly relationship, or offering all that one may possess in the service of the Lord. By such practice of yoga or linking up in the service of the Lord, one is recognized by the Lord himself, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita concerning the highest perfectional stage of samadhi. The Lord calls such a rare devotee the best among all the yogis. Such a perfect yogi is enabled by the divine grace of the Lord to concentrate his mind upon the Lord with perfect sense of consciousness. And thus, by chanting his holy name before quitting the body, the yogi is at once transferred to the internal energy of the Lord, to one of the eternal planets, where there is no question of material life and its concomitant factors. In material existence, the living being has to endure the material conditions of threefold miseries, life after life, according to his fruit of work. Such material life is produced by material desires only. Devotional service to the Lord does not kill the natural desires of the living being, but they are applied in the right cause of the devotional service. This qualifies the desire to be transferred to the spiritual world. General Bhishmadev is referring to a particular type of yoga called bhakti yoga, and he was fortunate enough to have the Lord directly in his presence before quitting his material body. He therefore desired the Lord stay before his view in the following verses. Bhaktya Vesha Mano Yasmin Vachayan Nama Kirtayan Tyajan Kalevaram Yogi Mujite Kama Karmavi. Personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation, and by chanting the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. Namo Vishnu Varaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhute Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswatunde Ve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shnivadi Paskadyade Satarane. As explained here, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana sharava bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Yoginam api sarvesham, of all the different yogis, Yoginam api sarvesh, madgaten antaratmana, one who thinks of himself, one who thinks of me within himself. Yoginam api sarvesham, madgaten antaratmana. Sharavan, with great faith, Sharavan bhajate, worships me, but Sharavan bhajate yogam, by the practice of yoga, samem yuktatamo mata, I consider the best of all. In other words, the perfection of yoga is to meditate on Krishna, to become conscious of Krishna. That's why our movement is called Krishna Consciousness Movement. Without being conscious of Krishna, then there's no, why would it be called the Krishna Consciousness Movement? So how to become Krishna conscious? Krishna doesn't ask Arjuna to give up his work. He says, Tavasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama nusmara yujacha mayarpata manobudira mame vaishati samshaya. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, you should probably prescribe duty of fighting. With your mind and intelligence fixed on me, and everything engaged in me, you'll attain to me without doubt. In other words, our activities of this body and our hearing is all meant so we can concentrate the mind on Krishna. If we're engaged in Krishna's service, doing what Krishna wants us to do, then that sense of servitorship protects us from the illusory energy. The illusory energy, Maya, our false identification of this body, comes when we are not doing things, not utilizing Krishna's energies in Krishna's service. Krishna Bahirmukha Bhagavanshitare Nikatastha Tare Japatiyadare. That as soon as we turn our face away from Krishna, the Maya comes and slaps us down, puts us into this Bali concept of life. Although people are mad after trying to enjoy this material body, or even the material mind, if they can't enjoy the body, then they just imagine some kind of enjoyment. Even though they're mad after it, it's actually not enjoyable, nor is it the goal of life, nor is it possible to actually make any progress materially or spiritually simply by trying to enjoy the senses and the mind. After all, Krishna says, Mamaivam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manakshastran indriyani, prakriti stani kashiti. The living entities are all my fragmental parts, and they're all eternal, but due to conditioned life, they're struggling hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Therefore, one has to find out, one has to accept that everything here belongs to Krishna. And that I'm Krishna's servant. That's called faith. Without that faith, there's no progress at all in devotional service, because one is living on the illusory platform. As soon as we forget we're Krishna's servants and doing things for Krishna's pleasure, Gata Sangasya Muktasya Jnanavastita Chetasaha Ijacharata Karma Samagram Praviliyate. The work of a man who's unattached to the modes of material nature and is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. In other words, what we're trying to do is merge our consciousness into Krishna consciousness. We're not simply trying to work. We're trying to you move our senses or even our mind around. We're trying to move our senses in such a way as it'll help us think about Krishna. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavastita chetasa. So that requires intelligence. How to work in such a way as that we'll remember Krishna. Or as Prabhupada writes, one should work in the 18th chapter, verse 65, one should arrange one's life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours a day, one cannot help but think about Krishna. And one who works in such a way, then he's sure to go back to Krishna. So arrange our lives in such a way that we can help but think about Krishna, and at the same time, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmra yuja, anusmrite. We can remember Krishna sometimes, but anusmriti is constantly remembering Krishna. As it explains in the Nectar of Instruction, Tanama Rupacharitadis Sukir Tanama Sukatirti. How's it go? Tanama, there's two words. Tanama Rupacharitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasanamanisi Nuoja Teach Tan Raje Nanuragi Jananugami Kalam Akilam Ipadesh Samram. So here the Anu again, continuously Anuragi. It's by experiencing pleasure, happiness in remembering Krishna, then Anurag, then we want more pleasure. Everyone's pleasure seeking, and if one gets pleasure from remembering Krishna, then naturally the mind will want to remember Krishna more. Anything we get pleasure from, that's what we remember. Of course, when we get excessive pain from something, in a negative way we remember it also. So in the material world, we're remembering what gave us pain, and we're remembering what gave us pleasure. But what gives us pleasure today will give us pain tomorrow. And after experiencing pain and becoming detached, then we feel a kind of happiness. So it's all mixed up. But here, Tanama Rupacharitadu Sakirtananu Smrityo Kramena Masana Rasa Tanama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu. But remembering Krishna's Nama, Rupa, Charita, character or qualities, Adi, pastimes, Tanama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtana. If we chant nicely, with a broad mind, open to hear, Sukirtananu Smrityo, then memory will come. Memory of Krishna's name, form, quality, and pastimes, associates. Smrityo Kramena, gradually, Kramena, step by step will come. Manaso Tanama Rupacharitadu Sakirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyoja, within the mind will appear all these different things. Tanama Rupacharitadu Sakirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyoja Tishtan Raje Tanuragi Jananugami. And then one will have this desire to follow the footsteps of a person who's in Braj, in this spiritual world, on the transcendental platform. Their activities are the perfect activities by which one can always remember Krishna and never forget him. That's why they're in the spiritual world, because they're always remembering Krishna and never forgetting him. If we follow the same activities they're doing, we'll come to the same platform. We don't have to add anything, and we don't have to take anything away. We just have to get an acharya, such as Srila Prabhupada, his activities, or those who are following him, and even imitating him is all right. Imitating, well, in the sense that we don't try to act like the acharya, but even dressing like Prabhupada sometimes, or try to chant like Prabhupada, that's fine. That's what we're trying to do, is hear, understand, and follow. Tanama Rupacharitadi Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasanamani Niyoja Tishtan Raje Tananag. So Prabhupada, one time they asked, who's that resident of Vrindavan we should follow? And Prabhupada said, I'm that resident we should follow. Yeah, that makes sense. Prabhupada's in transcendence. We should do what he does, what he did in order to get to transcendence. Smrityo Kramena Rasanamani Niyoja Tishtan Raje Tanuragi Jananugan Kalam Nakilam Itapadesha Saram. So we should follow, and then follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to devotional service. Then we'll be introduced to the Lord's beloved devotees by that devotee who are completely absorbed in loving Krishna in the highest way. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes that the mind is always disturbed, remembering different things, but one should work in devotional service under the guidance of Krishna's representatives, and externally act as a neophyte, and internally we can develop our internal consciousness of Krishna, remembrance of Krishna. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada writes, and as Prabhupada writes in his Nectar of Devotion, the same verse number 8, that devotional service begins by Shravana Dasa. Dasa means platform. That's the level. So the first level is to hear about Krishna. Try to feed our intelligence while hearing about Krishna. Not only we hear, but we should remember what we heard. We may not remember Krishna's form or qualities or pastimes, but we should remember the instructions by which we can come to the platform, remembering Krishna's form, name, quality, and pastimes. Remember those instructions. If we can't remember those instructions, then how are we going to remember Krishna constantly? We don't follow those instructions and develop that level of Krishna consciousness by following the instructions to do that. If you want to do anything, before it manifests, you have to follow the instructions in the manual that tells you how to do it. If you want to assemble a computer from nothing, you just can't just say, assemble, and then it just falls, or throw the pieces up in the air and hope that they all land in their right spaces. All the nails just land in such a way as they screw themselves in. Now you have to open up the manual and follow it, and one day, by doing that, you'll be able to construct the computer and it'll work. So we have to follow the instructions of those who have assembled who know how to assemble the computer. And once we do that, then we can tune in to channel Krishna and watch Krishna TV in our heart. And appreciate the glorious activities of the Lord's beloved devotees. So first is Shravana Dasa, hearing, how to assemble our computer within our heart, our transcendental television within the heart. And that means that we should live in a place where we can do that. We can come to a place, whether it's our home, whatever, where we're actually assembling the computer within our heart. We don't have to go to the movies. We won't be able to do it at the movies or at the racetrack or at the bar. We have to do it in a suitable place where we're not distracted and we're detached from other activities. It's not that we're chanting our rounds and eating our sandwich. Hare Krishna. We should be not distracted, detached from other activities. Then, gradually, if we actually feed our intelligence through the hearing, then gradually things will become clearer. If we're applying it within our lives the best we can, for instance, sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti has two phases. One, the activity itself, called devotional service. The other is the activity of elevating our consciousness to the level of enthusiasm. We're not trying to just do devotional service. Oh my God, I got to get up again. I'm too tired. Why are they such cruel? I got to chant 16 rounds. And it's every time I start chanting, my mind wanders to all kinds of things. This is all torture. I don't know how long I could take it. I'm just going to grit my teeth, go through today's sadhana bhakti. No, with such an attitude, one will not last very long. One has to understand the value. Like at the end of every chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's some impetus to read the chapter. You're going to become a king, you'll defeat all your enemies, you'll be healthy until you're 120 years old. Some impetus to spark our enthusiasm for going through the torture of reading Srimad Bhagavatam or chanting Hare Krishna or worshiping the deities. Some hope for the future that it's going to be much brighter than my past. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yat taragre vishamiva parinami mitopama tatsukam satikam protam atma buddhi prasadajam. That which in the beginning may be bitter like poison and the end is like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. It's called tapasya. Some degree of tapasya has to be there. It's bitter trying to focus our minds on Krishna because, we're used to the sense gratification of dreaming about all the possible pleasures I could have in the future, how pleasant the future is going to be. So therefore, to take away this dream that we have, that I'm going to have a wonderful house and a beautiful wife or a husband, I'm going to make all kinds of money, and I'm going to have wonderful children who will become doctors and lawyers, and we'll have wonderful prasadam and live in a friendly environment. Everyone will love us. At the end, Vaikuntha airplane will come and take us back to Vaikuntha because I'm a nice person. So these dreams that we have, it's bitter to withdraw it because we're so attached to them. It's the attachments that's bitter. The dream is all right. Trying to withdraw it is difficult because we're attached and we feel the lust and the anger that goes into it, and the frustration. We're trying to get away. It's like taking candy out of the hands of a baby. The baby gets angry. Why are you taking the candy away from me? This is candy. The illusory energy is candy for the conditioned soul. And when we're trying to voluntarily take away from it, Maya doesn't give up. She makes us feel bad. Why are you leaving me? We feel depressed. Yeah, I'm offering you such a nice opportunity for material happiness, and you're neglecting me. You're going away from me. So Varnadasa, acceptance. That if we can come to the stage of acceptance and actually follow the process and do it voluntarily with care and attention, with enthusiasm, that's called acceptance. That we're actually not only doing the activity, we're trying to cultivate a higher consciousness of bhakti the best we can. That this is the process. Do what I'm supposed to do, but do it in a higher consciousness, in Krishna consciousness, Varna Das. Then, naturally, the stages of remembrance will come. And there are 5 stages of progressive Krishna Smaranam. Who knows what they are? First one begins with an M. Meditation, Smarana. And absorption, that means meditation becomes deeper. Remembrance, actually, I guess, remembrance. And then absorption, that the remembrance becomes deeper. In other words, within our heart, not only we remember Krishna sometimes, we see him fleeting, but we can actually see there's Krishna running towards Mother Jasoda with his arms outstretched. He has a flower garland on his hair and a flower garland around his neck. There's a calf running with him. And Krishna has a yellow dhoti. So Krishna has a blackish form. So remembering Krishna like that, then it becomes clearer, the remembrance. Then remembrance, absorption, then meditation. Then meditation proceeds constantly, more and more often, and becomes deeper and deeper, the meditation. And then meditation, remembrance, and anusmriti. Anusmriti. Anusmriti means constant remembrance. Not only one is remembering Krishna all the time, and the remembrance is getting deeper and deeper and deeper, more and more vivid, and then finally one reaches the stage of samadhi, where one is always absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and it's always getting deeper. Then at that time, then there is Sarup Siddhi. One remembers one's actual relation with Krishna, the stage of bhava. After constant remembrance is at the stage of asakti, and complete absorption in samadhi, the stage of bhava, and one remembers one's relation with Krishna. And then there is Vastu Siddhi. One is actually enters into Krishna's pastimes. Actually, we have to look at, I'm speculating right now. Let's see what nectar of instruction. Nectar of instruction, text number 8. Go. Okay. What is this? Wrong text. Okay, let's try 7. Okay. I'll read the whole thing, so you'll see I didn't speculate entirely. In the nearby stage, this is from Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhu's purport. In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasa, the stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, one can obtain to the state of acceptance called Varna Dasa. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smarana Vasta, the stage of remembrance. Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. So that's Smarana, that's, what are those two things? Dhyana. And dhyana, recollect, smarana, dhyana, and dharana. Dhyana and dharana. Dharana means constant meditation. constant remembrance, anusmriti, and trance, samadhi, are the 5 stages of progressive Krishna smaranam. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated, and it's called meditation. When meditation expands and becomes constant, it's called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi called spiritual trance. After smarna dasa, or samadhi is fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called sampati dasa, the stage of life, the perfection stage of life. So anyhow, I didn't speculate really. But that's perfectional stage of life is called Sarup Siddhi, when one actually enters into one's spiritual body. So this is our process, whether we define it as adal, shada, tatas, sadhusanga, tya, bhajana, kriya, etc. So we're performing, especially as we develop faith, we're especially performing bhajana, satsanga. Sadhu Sangha, hearing about Krishna. That's what we're supposed to do in Sadhu Sangha, hearing about Krishna. That's really our only business, hearing and chanting about Krishna, remembering Krishna. And even outside the Sangha, whatever we're doing, that's the whole idea of what we're doing. So that when we go outside the sadhana bhakti, we're still remembering Krishna, still doing activities for Krishna. Then comes bhajana kriya. That's by sadhu sangha. What is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? 10:9. Machkita prana, bodhyantash parashparam, katayantasram nityam, tushanti charamanti cha. The reason why we're in the temple and have association with devotees, because we want to hear about Krishna. And hear about him what? In such a way as we can engage our mind, our consciousness, that's called chitta, and our prana, our energies in Krishna's service. And by doing so, we develop experience of becoming purified by remembering Krishna. That's called tushanti. We're getting some satisfaction. I'm making progress towards the goal. Things are becoming clearer. Varna dasa. I'm accepting things. Things become realized. It's called acceptance. And Ramante, I'm actually on the higher stages, one is actually meditating on Krishna in trance, in devotion, with feelings of love. And then the result is Tesham Sadatam Yuktanam Bhajantam Priti Purvakam. As we become more consistent in our devotional service and more consistent in our enthusiasm in remembering Krishna, associating with Krishna and his devotees, then the result is that Krishna Dadami Buddhayogam Tam, one directly experiences how Krishna is guiding one to improve one's devotional service and to get rid of the anarthas. And when Krishna sees we're following his instructions and tolerating the ups and downs of material existence, then Tesham Eva Nukampartam. Then out of compassion, he dwelling in our heart destroys with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So first the knowledge becomes theoretical, we can remember at least theoretically what we're supposed to do. And then when we apply it, then Krishna gives us enlightenment. And all the anxiety and misconceptions and problems we think we have, they all go away. Anyhow, nice process. Any questions? Comments? Yes. chant clearly and listen to our chanting so we can improve it. So, and the improvement will come, we'll understand we're improving when we spontaneously remember Krishna. And in order to do that, we have to avoid the 10 offenses. So we should learn the 10 offenses. For instance, Prabhupada in one lecture he said the worst offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting. So we shouldn't think, well, I'm a devotee, I'm protected, I'm not going to take birth as an animal in my next lifetime. So I should follow the process, maybe not so strictly, but I'm safe, everything's all right. So that's not a good idea. We should be a little afraid of Maya, even when we're not with the devotees. We should try to keep our Krishna consciousness. So that when we come back, and we start to chant, if we're chanting 16 rounds, then we don't have to start from zero again. Try to forget all the nonsense we were thinking about during the day. So try to remain in Krishna consciousness during the day also, when we're not engaged in sadhana bhakti. By learning the 10 offenses, trying to follow them the best we can. Is that right? Anything else? Wala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.